Hello, everyone, and welcome to CommonTime Productions. Mary
and Sam
here today to show you how to produce like a pro in Mixcraft 10. Hello, and welcome back to our CommonTime production tutorial on producing like a pro in Mixcraft 10. If you haven't already, head on over to Mixcraft and download your version, whether it be Recording Studio or the Pro version. This tutorial will work for either one and will work great for beginners or intermediate users. Let's jump on into Mixcraft. And here we are. We have the blank project. And we're going to bring in our stems for a song called Plus that I found in a sample loop bed on Loop Cloud. Sam recently did a tutorial on Loop Cloud, and so I had been also playing with some of them, and I found some of these with vocals tracks and other things in there. They sound wonderful. So I threw together something, and then I actually am going to have Sam track some things over them so we can do a full song bed and add guitar and some bass tricks. And I've got some other EQ and mixing tricks and tips to give you guys that I translated from Pro Tools into Mixcraft 10. So let's get started. Okay, so here are our audio stems that I've made. And what we're going to do, I'm going to actually take this folder that I've created. I'm going to copy this whole thing. It's got the info in there and everything. And then we're going to go and we're going to put it in our Mixcraft project section. And so if we save our project, and we're going to name this. Oh, okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to paste our stems in here, so that when Mixcraft, when we reopen this session, it'll be able to find the audio stems just fine. So we're going to open this up, and we're going to start transferring these over here into Mixcraft. So let's make this small on the side. All right, and we're going to import our stems just like this. We're going to drag and drop them from our folder, and then we're going to rearrange them into subcategories. Well, I like to put my drums at the top, so let's grab all the drum things. And to make a submix, what we're going to do is we have the tracks selected. We're going to right-click on one of them and click on Insert Track. And then we're going to come down here to Submix. And this will be a way that we can organize our different instruments and different things into different submixes. And then this will help with routing and outbusts and other things that I'll show you here in a little bit. So we're going to name this one Drums. Okay, and we're going to bring our bass synth up here as well and put that underneath the drum section. And even though it's only one track right now, we are going to put it in its own submix because I also am going to do some stuff later. Show you guys how to make a MIDI track out of this and turn it into different sounds and samples that you can layer over it to give different bass tones. Put all these vocals down at the bottom. Let's zoom out a little bit here. Oh, and then I've got another kick trigger here. I've got a trick to show you guys how to open a compressor early and then sidechain it to the bass so that it actually ducks it, and then we have some emphasis of the kick there. So let's put that in the drum subbus. And we're going to put all of these synths together in their own category as well. Okay, and we have a reverse cymbal. That's got to go up here into the drums. And that's going to accent coming back into the chorus because we have a neat pause and then a jump into the chorus. Okay, let's move these vocals down. Okay, we're going to put these guitars right under the bass. Okay, now we're going to put all the vocals inside their own. Name that vocals. Okay, and we do have some things here. We've got some background vocals and a couple of vocal harmony part. We've also got the lead vocal sections for the chorus. And then there looks like I made a dry track of this one. I'm not sure quite if we'll need it, but I'm going to mute it and put it down here at the bottom. And so we'll have one for center channel. And then, yeah, we're going to come through here and we're going to gain stage these as well. So let's go through and let's do that. Okay, let's do a quick save. Okay, here we are. We have everything in our groups, and we're going to go through each track and we're going to do some gain staging. And I'm also going to show you guys how to do some routing so we can route everything into a VU meter so that we can also check an average and make sure that we are hitting that negative 18 dB before we start applying mixing and other kinds of plugins and things, because those are going to start to add more to each of the tracks, and we don't want to be clipping or have any kinds of distortion and things like that happening. Let's start with the drums. And what we're going to do is we're going to solo the drums. And we're going to take a listen here. So that's the first one. And so during some of the verse, we've got a light drum beat. And during the chorus, we've got the chorus. And then we've got this kick that's going to be on top of it that's going to be triggering a bass track later, because we want to open a compressor a little bit early so that we can let the kick come through in the chorus. So this is what the chorus of the drums sound like right now. And as you can see, it's pretty hot. So we need to go in here and gain stage. So let's pull up the mixer. We're going to bring that over here. Okay, so here is the mixer panel. And as you can see, we've got some outputs and inputs, and we've got the EQ for the basic here. You can go and actually enable or disable different parts of the mixer if you so choose. But today, what we need to do is we're going to be checking the gain. And so it looks like I don't have my gain on. We're going to open up the settings and we're going to check the box. And then now, as you see, I've got a little dial on each one for the gain knob. So we're going to hit OK. We're going to start with the drums light. So let's move this off to the side. And I'm going to create a send track that I'm going to put a VU meter on. So we're going to make a send track and we're going to name it VU meter. And so I'm going to go look for my VU meter. I also wanted to mention that this has the categories here. I've added these categories by going in here and I click on File and I click on Plugin Manager, and I'm able to make separate folders to add my plugins into. So it makes looking for them later much, much easier. Okay, so we're going to go here. I'm going to click on my Analyzer folder and I'm going to look for a VU meter. Okay, and since I have some stereo tracks and some mono tracks, I selected a stereo one for both purposes. Okay, and let's see, we've got different sizes. We'll stick with the medium for now. And a lot of times when you first open a VU meter, you'll need to set the headroom. For this instance, when it hits at 0 dB, it's actually negative 18. So that's how you read an old VU meter from like analog gear back in the day. And why this is really handy in a DAW is because this will also give you a visual look to see how exactly loud your track is, even beyond like something in Mixcraft. Like if you look here, yeah, we can do exact movements here, and this will work for turning tracks down, yes, but ideally what we want is this to be at 0. So when we go into the mixing session later and you're using your mixer, all your faders are here at 0. So when you're doing gentle adjustment for mixing afterwards, we know that we've already gain staged all of our vocals down to that negative 18. So I like to use a VU meter to do that double check. And so to do that, we are going to send it to the VU meter. And so we're going to send each separate track to the VU meter. Now I'm only sending each separate track. I don't need to send the sub bus track. And then there are some things later for like this send track. We're going to turn it down while we're listening to each track separately because we don't want it to have another layer of audio on top of it. And now that we've gotten it there, we're going to move this VU meter out of the way a little bit. And then if we bring down that part and hit play again. See how it adds an extra layer on top of the other previous one? So we're gonna mute that because we don't need that part. We just need it to be kind of passing through to give us the VU analyzation. Okay, and so since we are hitting exactly on the top of that at 0, I'm actually going to leave this one where it's at. Now, even in the chorus, if it ducks up over into the red, that's okay because it's only going to be a little bit over -18. And when this is important because we want to leave headroom for when we have mastering and mixing and things like that. So let's go ahead and unsolo that one, and we're going to solo the full drum kit, which has kick and other things going into the chorus. Okay, so this one we know is definitely a little bit loud. So we're going to bring this one down. So let's go ahead and loop this little section. And you can highlight up here in the timeline as long as you want. And then you're going to click this right here for turning on the loop mode. All right, so let's go ahead and hit play on this. Move our VU meter. Okay, so here we are. We've got this as the track that's soloed. Here's our gain knob. So I'm going to bring this down a little bit. Okay, and so now we're back with Sam, and we're going to track some guitars on this. And so I think the first thing I should do is I should get a level basic of all the tracks. And I think to help Sam, so I can turn it up or down, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all these sub buses and I'm going to put them into another subcategory of the full mix. So we're going to select them all by holding down the control key and left clicking on them. And then we're going to right click and we're going to make another submix. Oh, it tried to put it in the drum. So let's put it up here. Let's grab all of these. We're going to put them in there and we're going to name this full mix. This will give him a great level that he can track over, and yet I can still take this out and I'll still do mixing after this, of course. But at the moment, since he's just tracking, we're not going to be doing the full mixing yet and leveling and all the other automation. Okay, so let's take our VU meter and we're going to move this down out of the way. Okay, and we're going to insert a track for Sam to track on. So we're going to right click, create an audio track, make sure it's at the top, just for ease of looking. Minimize that. Okay, and we're going to name our track. So this is guitar. Sometimes I'll put the name of the song there or the verse. It just depends on what works. So we're going to arm the track by clicking on this right here, this little arrow drop down, and we're going to select the right channel because I have the mic channel on the other one. And so Sam, if you will, plug into the interface. Okay, and then we're going to get a signal. Okay, we're going to give Sam some monitoring by pressing this button right here. Okay, and then I believe Sam would also like to tune. So we're going to actually do that first. We're going to press the tune button right here. All right, and so we're going to turn the tune button off now. We're going to do a quick save. And I'm going to have Sam get a level before we start tracking so that we can adjust and turn things up or down if needed. So here's the song, Sam, and you let me know if you need me to turn it down. Okay, I think we are going to turn it down just a little bit. And I think I'm actually going to give Sam, just for recording purposes, a plug-in for an amplifier. And just so if you guys didn't know, Mixcraft comes with, in the Mixcraft Pro version, it comes with the shred amp. And so while tracking, he can actually track real time while hearing this. And then later, if he likes whatever settings he finds, we could print it to the track if we like. So let's kind of take a listen. Go ahead and play a little bit, Sam. Sound to you, Sam?
I like that.
All right. So as you can see, you can dial in while they're tracking. You could have an instrument and your friend could be tracking while you're dialing things in. It's really handy that they can actually listen back. And just to show you in our preferences, if you come to your ASIO driver and your latency is really low or smaller, you can track in real time like that, and you won't hear that latency that you hear sometimes if you're using the core audio. So if your interface has the ability to record with an ASIO, or if you got ASIO for all, you can go ahead and use something like this. Okay. All right, so we're going to start them at the beginning. We're going to do another quick save. And if we like that setting, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually come over here and click this save. So if we like this and Sam likes this after the tracking, we could actually apply this later during the mix session. So let's put this as Sam Guitar and the name of the song. And when you go later to look, you'll actually see you can make setting savings. All right, make sure our playhead's at the beginning. All right, are you ready to go, Sam?
Yeah, let's get them. Yeah, let's give it a shot.
I see you changing, and I don't know you like before. My heart is breaking, and I don't wanna see you anymore. I'm fading. It's because you love me not enough, baby. If I could give a damn what you, I wouldn't be happy. I don't need your promise you'll be better. I should know we'll never be together. We'll never be together. 'Cause one plus one, it's a broken heart.
All right. Wow, that was pretty cool. I like a lot of those things, especially in the bridge section. Which brings me to, let's take that off so we have that buzzing stop. And we're going to disarm. All right. And I think what we're going to do is we're going to go put our markers in now. We're going to right click up here in this timeline and you're going to select add marker. This is the intro. Okay, we're going to add a verse 1. Okay, and this chorus kind of starts in the middle of 18 and into 19 with how I ended up putting this pause in there because I didn't want to measure long pause. So we're going to actually put our marker for the chorus on that. And oh, let's change its color. If you want to edit a flag after you put it in there, you right click on it and you select edit. Thank you, Sam. Okay, and I think I'll also put a little marker there for where our break is. All right. And then, yeah, we go into this bridge right here at 26 and a half. We're going to put our bridge. Also put it a fun color. Let's do purple. Okay, and then I have another break here. I'm going to make that red again as well. And then the chorus as well here at the end. All right, and then sometimes when I go to bounce stems, I will also make a flag here at the end so I know where the end is and I can select easily the entire timeline to bounce stems down, and I'll show you that here in a minute. All right, so now that we have Sam's guitar tracked, I'm going to trim off the beginning. We're going to trim off the beginning. We're going to right click, click split, and then we're going to get rid of that. Okay, and then we're going to take everything out of the submix that we put it in, because now we no longer need it in there. We can go ahead and delete that. And we'll leave that down there. That's fine. We're going to bypass that, and you can do bypass effects and plugins that you put on things by pressing that. You could also get to your effects by clicking this button and then enabling them that way as well. And also, as you know, you can get to the show from there as well. Okay, and as you can see, I broke the guitar into separate sections and I made them their own bounces so they have their own tracks, and I'll include those in the folder as well so that they're separate in case we wanted to do different processing on the guitars and the choruses versus the verse, and then maybe something with the bridge. Not quite sure yet. Okay, so we're going to bring this down and we're going to put it underneath the bass. And so now we have everything in their little sub buses. And so let's prep all of these for mixing. Okay, so we've already covered gain staging. And I think for simplicity's sake, we're just going to delete this track. Okay. And let's take a listen.
I see you changing, and I don't know you like before, and my heart is breaking, and I don't wanna see you anymore. I'm fading. It's because you love me not enough, baby. If I could give it time, will you happier than ever. I don't need to promise you'll be better. I should know we'll never be together. We'll never be together. 'Cause 1 + 1, it's a broken heart. And I don't want your second time. Just let me down, let me down, let me down. Just let me down. 'Cause 1 + 1, it's a broken heart. And I don't.
Okay, so I think this is a great start to go into mixing. We obviously are, when we go into the mixing session, we're going to start bringing some of these down even further so that they sit better in the mix with each other. We're going to automate, we're going to add some plugins, apply some EQ, compression, some tricks so that, you know, when we're ready to export a final mix of this, it's ready to share and put it up on one of your social medias or something like that. All right, so I'll catch you in the mixing session. Hello and welcome back to the mixing portion of our tutorial for the song Plus. So we got Sam's guitar tracked in the last one and I chopped it up and I put it into separate stems. I've got all my sub buses and everything ready to go. And I think that we're going to start with the drums first. We're going to add this kick trigger here to sidechain to the bass guitar or the synth bass so that it'll duck out the bass a little bit. So the kick will hit in the chorus. We're going to solo the drums, and in the chorus, you hear that kick in there. And so that kick, we're going to actually end up, we're going to do with this one later, but this is going to be a real fun trick that I show you a bonus at the end. Start with this one. Okay, this one's a little bit more of a quiet style of drum part. It's going to go over the verse for this part.
Be happier than ever. I don't need to.
Okay, so we don't have any low end really or kick on this. These ones came with this sample pack and I just I like them. Let's zoom in on them a little bit. I like how that kind of flams a little bit. Okay, so the first thing we should probably do is we'll add a compressor on here. And we're going to add the TB compressor. And so we're going to set it to a ratio of 3:1 because we want a compressor works by ratio. So the 3:1 ratio allows 1 dB through for every 3 dB. So we're going to set our threshold. Let's try about -16. And we want to adjust our release. So we're going to click this auto and we can bring this down to about 80 milliseconds. That's good for our attack. We'll let that be. And the other things are fine at their default. And we do want it all the way on. And we're going to listen back and see what we get. So it did what I kind of was looking for. It brought out some of the transients and the excitement in that top end, like with those little flares or with the little flams. And so if I zoom back in again, so I really like what that adds to it. And so we're going to put that compressor there. And let's listen to the drums all together. Next. Okay, let's listen to what they sound like together. I don't want there to be too much crispiness, so I don't want to exactly copy this compressor. Okay, maybe we want to bring our effect down. Okay, so let's go and bring this compressor here. We're going to go for relatively the same settings. And then we're going to bring this one down to about 65. And again, we're going to make our release about 80 milliseconds. And we'll leave those at rest. Okay, I want to actually accentuate the bottom end a little bit, so I'm going to actually go and bring up an EQ. And let's see, I do really like the TB parametric EQ, so let's try that one. Here's this. Okay, we're going to duck down about 35, 36 and below. I really like how that brings out that low end of the kick. If we boost the 60 hertz in the kick drum and the low end there, it's going to bring out that low end, the kick drum that we want to have in there. And so we also should put a low pass or a high cut. Okay. Okay, so I don't want this much of a roll off here. So I'm going to actually take this one that's over here. I'm going to adjust this back up just a little bit. And we see this line coming back down. This cuts off a little bit less of our top end, because when we layer this back together with the original light, we should have a pretty full sounding drum kit together. I really like how that brought out the transients of that hi-hat, so I think we're going to go with that. And then the kick trigger, I'm going to leave that alone for right now. We're going to come back to that, and then we'll take a listen to the reverse cymbal. Let's take a look here. Let's also add this compressor on there as well. Okay, and so we'll go for the same settings. And we're going to bring that down just a little bit. It's a little loud. Okay. Let's see what we can do with this kick and see if we can bring up... All right, now I had already cleaned up some of the audio on this, and we trimmed out some of the other beats so that it's just the kick drum. And you will hear a little bit of it bleed in there where you hear a little bit of the cymbal stuff, but that's going to be okay for how we're going to do this. First, let's apply some compression. And we'll go for the same ratio. Now, again, we'll show another trick. If you wanted to take this previous version and we liked what we had done and say we want to save this for drums. And now we can select it on this track. Okay, let's listen. Let's do another compressor, and we'll do serial compression on this because we really want that kick to come through. But instead, let's put some punch on there. We'll change just a little bit of the profile. Okay, so it copied our settings once I put the setting on there, and then I changed the profile. So that'll do for now. Let's listen to it with the drums. All right, now we're going to move on to the bass. And this one, I have some fun ideas. All right, so we already gain staged this. It's kind of quiet, but let's do a fun trick because I actually want to turn this into a MIDI track. So we're going to make it a little smaller. I'm going to right click on it, and I'm going to come down here to convert audio clip to MIDI. And we're going to name this Bass MIDI. And as you can see, it doesn't have a title here because it was just made it blank. To actually change those titles, we can copy what we type here. And if we double click on this, it'll open it up into the editor tab for the sound. And we can actually paste it here to save the name to the track. And if I scroll down, you'll see it's got the name now. And we can also change colors of tracks, just like we do the flags. So if you wanted to change this to another color, ooh, I like the purple one. Okay, let's stay with that. Oh, and it changed all my little bubbles too, actually. Let's do one that's a little easier to see, but not so harsh on the eyes. There we go. Let's use that. So we're going to zoom in here, and I'm going to clean this up because if we go, let's load a bass in here. Just go with finger bass for now. Or finger picking. Okay, so we still have it in that low frequency. I need to clean up a little bit what we have here. As we see, we've got some, if we zoom in, we've got some little things that were translated, maybe incorrect. So let's get rid of those. And we can either grab and drag over all of them like this. And then delete them. Or another way to do that is to come down to the actual one, double click it, and it will actually select all of those. And then we can delete them. Let's take a listen. Okay, so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually clean the edge up just a bit to the end there. And as you can see, all we need to do is, we can even zoom in even closer. We'll see how that sounds in a second. We might actually make that longer. We'll see. Yeah, and as you can drag out, you can just hold it down and drag them out how you'd like. This makes editing MIDI really super simple. This is called the Piano Step Editor. All right, well, that's kind of in the ballpark. Let's take a listen over the original track to kind of hear how on the notes we are before I change the octave. So what I'm doing here is I put the snap to grid on, and I am zooming out and then zooming back in again on the beginning part of this note, which is pretty much where it hits. If we wanted to get a little more accurate, we could also turn off the snap to grid and put it right exactly at the front of that transient. So it looks like this one actually should be about there. Okay, and then this one. All right, now we're going to listen back to it and see how this sounds over it after I've cleaned it up and lined them up. Okay, now, of course, that doesn't sound very good. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back in there. We're going to raise it up 1 octave. So we are going to grab all of them. And let's bring up their audio just ever so slightly. We need to zoom in just a little bit so that we have the edge. And if we turn the grid back on, as you can see, the front of 22 here, where it starts, I'm pretty much right on that beat. Okay, so for terms of moving it, we're going to make it snap to it for a minute, right where that transient begins. So then I can easily move them up. Okay, so this one is on B flat 1. So we're going to move it up to B flat 2. So we're going to zoom out, grab all of them. Okay, so it does kind of a sub thing there, but I think instead of just layering a bass, I think actually what we're going to do is we can come in here and change the instrument that we have in here. And so instead of just bass category, if we come up here to the VST instruments, you can see that by scrolling down, we've got a bunch of them available. So if you click on this one, for instance, the Glass Viper, now when it plays, it's going to play this over it. Okay, so alien talk, but hey, well, let's see here what else we have in here. Okay, so just fun ways that we can get different tones by making an audio track from MIDI. I think that I want to try, instead of that, I wanted to try an ARP, an arpeggiator. And I have one of those available. If we scroll down here to Messiah, this comes inside Mixcraft. And this is based on like a Moog or a synthesizer type scenario. And so if we come over here, I've got some ARP settings. But we got to hear what this sounds like altogether.
It's a broken heart, and I don't want your second time. Just let me down, let me down, let me down, just let me down.
Okay, so that's some fun that we can dial in later if we'd like. We'll go ahead and mute that. I just wanted to show you guys that that was a fun way you could get a MIDI track from an audio track and then do some stuff to it, put some different sounds in there. Okay, so let's mix this bass synth. I think what we'll need to do, let's go back and grab that TB parametric equalizer. And I think that because it's a bass synth, we want to bring out the low end really nicely. And so let's go ahead and we're going to low pass or high cut at about 200. And then let's bring up this end just a little bit more so that we have a little bit better of a knee coming off into that. Let's listen to that. And if you wanted to check the analyzer, Okay, maybe let's bring up the gain just a bit. Maybe we'll put it about 2. Okay, and let's add a compressor to that as well. Been liking this 3-to-1 compression ratio so far today. All right, we'll leave that on there with that just in case we decide to use that later. And that should do it for a minute for the bass. So let's come down here to guitar, and we're going to dial in Sam's guitar. Let's solo these. We are going to make an output bus track. And as you can see, they've already got a little picture for an amp, so we kind of know what we kind of want to do with this. So let's make this the guitar amp. And automatically, its output is set to the default playback. And so in the guitars, we've got these tracks. Let's solo them. Okay, so now that we've made our guitar amp output bus, what we're going to do is we're going to make a send track. And we're going to call this guitar bus. Okay, and so we're going to open up our mixer. And now you'll see in each of the guitars, we've got a knob here for the send. So we're going to put this back up to 100. Okay, and so we'll minimize that. And so now if we play them, we see that they're going through the send track. Now what we want to do is we want to send this to the output bus. Okay, so our guitar bus, we want to take our output and change it to the output of the guitar amp. And so on the guitar amp, we know that Sam really liked that shred amp. So let's bring that back onto the amp channel here now that we've made one. And let's go put his preset there that we made for him. And so now that we've got this here, we can bring down the guitar submix because we don't want that to be layered on top of it. If you listen, we don't need that on top of that, but we do need it to go through the bus into the output bus. And as you hear the guitar there, and we can dial in how much we want in there. Could also come back on here. All right, I think I'm actually going to put Sam's guitar back on one track, and I'll show you why here in a second. Okay, so we're going to trim off the beginning. Okay, and it automatically did our fade there. We'll just do it like that. All right. So this actually will help us clean up some stuff. Okay, so first thing we'll do is we'll duplicate this track. And then what we're going to do is we're going to actually take this guitar. And the first one, we're going to pan over to the left about 50%. And this one, we're going to pan all the way to the right 100%. And then we're going to add a reverb to this because we want a full effect reverb on the one side. And then on the other, we're going to have the regular signal with cleaned compression. And then we are going to put them together and it's going to sound real full when we play it over everything else. Okay, and so then this one that we panned all the way over to the right, we're going to add a reverb on there. come down to our category that I made for reverb. We'll just use the classic Acoustica reverb right now. And so we want a full wet mix. We're going to turn down the dry mix. And let's see what this sounds like together. Okay, we're going to apply a similar compression. Okay, and so we're going to apply an EQ. I'm going to roll off at about 100. Okay, maybe we want a little less of the shred guitar. Okay, and then we're going to boost down here at about 5K, about 3 dB. Okay, we're going to make a preset for this. Guitar. Okay, we want to make sure and EQ our reverb so that we don't have a bunch of junk frequencies on that channel. Okay, let's listen to what it sounds like in the mix.
Let me down, just let me down.
So until we get a little bit more further, I won't quite know what yet we want still to do on that. That was soloed. Still mute. Okay, let's deal with these synths, because we got some of them that are a little too loud. Well, here we are on the synths, and then we are going to take a listen to them. Okay, I really like that at the beginning. We're going to leave that alone for now. We're going to leave that one center channeled. And then we've got this mallet synth. I think what we're going to do is we're going to add this psychedelic delay on here. Let's add a little trick on here to this part in the chorus. We've got these synth keys in the chorus. So let's make them fit over each other and have some other fun. Okay, let's completely stop the effect. All right. Just some fun we can do with that. I like how those all kind of sound. Let's throw in some of these other things, like this synth keys down here. Okay. Let's add an EQ to this. Okay, we'll bring that down around there so that cuts out the harshness. Let's hear how those sound over these other ones. All right, so I know that that comes in after Sam's guitar. So let's solo Sam's guitar for just a second in the bridge into those. Okay, I think let's leave those vocals alone. We'll just put some compression on them for now. Okay, and then we're going to put our EQ. Roll off everything below 120 or so. And we're also going to kind of duck this down. We'll kind of bring this down a little bit. Right around that 2.5, so it's not as harsh. And then we've got some atmospheric stuff. I think what we're going to do is we're going to kind of do a phone effect, I guess, because I want to only have like the middle of that frequency for this, the atmospheric stuff. So let's bring that EQ again. And then we are going to high pass this at about 250. And then we're going to low pass at about 1,000. And then what we're going to do is this one here, we're going to bring up so that it's kind of back at the level it should be. As we can see, this slope right here, it's going to give us a filter effect on that. So let's unsolo those other parts in that. Okay, so what that ends up doing is that takes away a lot of that low end and other frequencies that we don't want to build up with other parts of the instruments when we bring them back in, like the bass and things like that. And then I've got these. Okay, I think we're going to go for a lo-fi effect. And I found the TB Time machine bit crusher to be kind of fun. I played with this the other day. If we listen to it just on its... don't really have any changes, but what I want to do is I want to put it on this cheap toy. And we're going to give it a low, kind of a lo-fi feel. Okay, let's give it some more bits. Okay, so let's see, maybe that delay might also be kind of cool to put on this as well. We'll mute the vocals for now. All right, let's get some vocals going and then start getting our levels. We'll do a quick save. All right, let's take a listen.
Changing, and I don't know what you're like before, and my heart is breaking. And I don't wanna see you anymore. I'm fading. It's because you love me not enough, baby. If I could give it time on you, I would then be happier than ever. I don't need your promise you'll be better. I should know we'll never be together. We'll never be together. 'Cause 1 + 1, that's a broken heart. And I don't want you to let me down, let me down, let me down.
Okay, so I think in the verse what I want to do, I want to duplicate this dry vocal track. And we're going to mix one off to the side. So let's do about 50% on the left. And we'll do the other one 50% on the right. And we're going to bring those down quite a bit to adjust both of their volumes at the same time if they're both selected. Click that, and we're going to bring that down to about -9.
I wouldn't be happier than ever. I don't need to promise you'll be better. I should know.
That sounds good for now. What we're going to do is let's add, again, some compression. We're going to do a serial compression trick on these vocals to make them nice and big. Let's do a 3:1 ratio again. And then we're going to do a shorter release. We'll do somewhere around 110. Okay. And so let's save this because I know I want to apply this. We'll do vocal compressor.
Changing, and I don't know what you're like before, my heart is breaking.
So let's add another instance of the same compressor. Again, we're doing a serial compression trick. We're going to add that same preset we had, but this time I'm going to make its ratio. Oh, I want a 20:1 ratio, so I think what I want to do, I want to try a different compressor. So let's actually remove that one. Oh, yeah, let's do the Acoustica compressor. Okay, so let's make our ratio 20. And we're going to make our threshold about 15. Our attack's already a little high. Let's make that 10. And we'll make our release, again, about that 111. All right, and let's see where we're at.
Changing,
A bit much. So we definitely can now bring down our volume.
and I don't know what you're like before, my heart is breaking. And I don't wanna see you anymore. I'm fading. It's because you love me not enough, baby. If I could give it some more, I wouldn't be happier than ever. I don't need to promise you'll be better. I wouldn't be happier than ever. I don't need to promise you'll be better. I should know we'll never be together. We'll never be together.
All right, so now let's add some EQ onto this as well. Okay, and so we're going to bring it down here about 120 or so, or 110. And then we're going to boost ever so slightly down here at the 125 mark. So I can bring that back up so the fall off is a little bit more. We're going to come up to about 6K, and we're going to give a little boost right here for a high shelf. And let's take a listen to the lead vocal again in the verse.
Changing, and I don't know what you're like before, my heart is breaking. And I don't wanna see you anymore. I'm fading. It's because you love me not enough, baby. If I could give it some more, I wouldn't be happier than ever.
Okay.
I don't need to promise you'll be better.
All right, so we're going to duck a dB or dB and a half around the 1200 mark to get that little masky sound out of her vocals.
Changing, and I don't know what you're like before, my heart is breaking.
All right, I like that. All right, so let's bring this up. We're going to save that as the vocal EQ. All right, and let's come back over here and we're going to add the compressor again. Oh, let's add our TB compressor. Okay, make sure all of our settings are okay. Okay, and again, we want to add our parametric EQ on here with our setting that we made for the vocals. And then we may need to bring these down, duck these down to about 11 now, maybe.
I wouldn't be happier than ever. I don't need your promise you'll be better. I should know we'll never be together.
Okay, let's listen to it in the mix.
Wouldn't be happier than ever. I don't need your promise you'll be better. I should know we'll never be together. We'll never be together. 'Cause 1 + 1 it's a broken heart. And I don't want your second time. Just let me down, let me down, let me down, just let me down. 'Cause 1 + 1 it's a broken heart. And I don't want you.
Okay, so we've got this part that carries into the chorus there, and we want that to come out.
Broken heart, and I don't want your second time. Just let me down, let me down, let me down, just let me down. 'Cause 1 + 1 it's a broken heart, and I don't want your second time. Just let me down, let me down.
All right, we're going to do that serial compression trick again on the choir that carries the chorus after the lead drops off. We'll adjust that in just 1 second.
Let me down, 'cause 1 + 1 it's a broken heart, and I don't want your second time. Just let me down, let me down, let me down, just let me down, down. 'Cause 1 + 1 it's a broken heart, and
All right, so we've got this lead vocal in the chorus in the center channel.
I don't want your second time. Just let me down, let me down, let me down, just let me down. 'Cause 1 + 1 it's a broken heart, and I don't want your second.
All right, so we're going to automate this. So we're going to drop this little thing down right here that opens your automation. I'm going to zoom in. Okay, and so we want to make a dot there and a dot there, and we have grid on. And then we're going to totally come down here to where it drops off. Then we're going to make another dot and another dot. Okay, so we probably should be pretty conservative at first. So let's right click on it, edit its value, and we're going to make it 2.5. And then we're going to come back down to the other dot, and we're going to do the same. Right click, edit exact value, -2.5.
'Cause 1 + 1 it's a broken heart, and I don't want your second time. Just let me down, let me down, let me down, just let me down. 'Cause 1 + 1 it's a broken heart, and I don't.
Okay, maybe we will duck this just a little bit more. So let's do 3.5, 1 more dB.
Cause 1 + 1 it's a broken heart, and I don't want your second time. Just let me down, let me down, let me down, just let me down. 'Cause 1 + 1 it's a broken heart, and I.
All right, I think I want to even come even further than that. So let's try 5.
Cause 1 + 1 it's a broken heart, and I don't want your second time. Just let me down, let me down, let me down, just let me down. Cause 1 + 1 it's a broken heart, and I don't want your second time. Just let me down.
Okay, so let's do some panning down here because we've got a harmony and a second harmony, and I want to get those off of this lead channel so that I can hear what's going on here. So let's put these over to the side. Okay, and we're going to duplicate the background vocals, and I'm going to have one all the way over to the left and one all the way over to the right.
'Cause 1 + 1, it's a broken heart.
Okay, and as you can hear, it definitely gave us a wider sound. So let's do -10 for both of them.
And I don't want your second time, just let me down.
And maybe we want to put these at 50%, so -50 makes it go to the left, and then 50 makes it go to the right.
1 + 1, it's a broken heart. And I don't want you.
Okay, let's bring those down in volume as well.
One plus one, it's a broken heart. And I don't want your second time. Just let me down, let me down, let me down, just let me down. 'Cause 1 + 1, it's a broken heart. And I don't want your second time. Just let me down, let me down, let me down, just let me down, down.
Okay, so let's add some more compressors and the parametric EQ to these other vocals. Okay, and I think I actually like doing the compressor first. So let's... If you want to swap things around, you can grab, drag, and drop them above or below another setting.
Cause 1 + 1, it's a broken heart. And I don't want your second time. Just let me down, let me down, let me down, just let me down. Cause 1 + 1, it's a broken heart. And I don't want your second time. Just let me down, let me down, let me down, just let me down. Cause 1 + 1, it's a broken heart. And I don't want your second time. Just let me down, let me down, let me down, just let me down, down.
Okay, let's automate some of those guitars. Bring those up. Another trick you can do for automating is you can automate on the sub bus in this instance. That'll actually make the most sense for us. Okay. And so we're going to come right here, right before the bridge. We're going to add our 2 dots. And we're going to make this one... Just going to bring it up maybe 2.5. They're at a great level as is. I just want to pop just that little bit. So we're just going to do that.
Let me down, down. Cause 1 + 1, it's a broken heart. And I don't want your second time. Just let me down, let me down, let me down, just let me down. Cause 1 + 1, it's a broken heart.
All right. And as promised, the trick that I was going to show you guys, the kick trigger, so that we can sidechain the bass to the kick. Okay, so I'm kind of happy where other things are at the moment. And the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to actually duplicate this kick trigger. Well, I don't want these 2 compressors on there, so I think what I'll do is I will mix it to a new audio track because this track's actually going to be silent anyways. And so what we're going to do after it made it stereo is we're going to right click on it and we're going to go to properties, and we only need one side of it. So we're going to uncheck the right side and leave the left side. We're going to take off a little bit of the front. And we want to be on the grid off. And we want to, let's see, we want to move this kick track just ever so slightly ahead of the other track. So just like this. And as you can see, it's got just a bit over where this one is. Okay, and if we come down to our bass track, we're going to add another compressor. And so here's the vacuum tube compressor that they have. And so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to add an audio controller. And then we are going to select that kick trigger that we found. And we're going to put it on pre-fader. And the kick trigger, we're going to make silent, the second one that we made. And so this one, we should actually label it at the end, so it's the silent one. And then if I solo that effect and this other kick and the drums and this bass, you'll hear what happens when the kick actually interacts here. And I'm going to move this. Okay, so we'll do it so you can see that this happens right here. Okay, and then all together, all right, let's bring down some more of those vocals a bit.
Just let me down, let me down, let me down, just let me down. 'Cause 1 + 1, it's a broken heart, and I don't want your seconds. And just let me down, it's a broken heart, and I don't want your seconds. And just let me down, let me down, let me down, just let me down. 'Cause 1 + 1, it's a broken heart. 'Cause 1 + 1, it's a broken heart, and I don't want your seconds. And just let me down, let me down. 'Cause 1 + 1, it's a broken heart, and I don't want your seconds. And just let me down, let me down, let me see you changing. And I don't know you like before, and my heart is breaking. And I don't wanna see you anymore. I'm happier than ever. + 1, it's a broken.
Okay, so we're going to just automate these vocals here at the end on the lead track to bring them down. And we definitely could spend more time in here automating and all those things. All right, another thing that I wanted to show you guys was how to export your project after you've gotten it mixed. So here in Mixcraft, you're going to click on the file. And we're going to come down to Mix Down To, where you can select between MP3 and all these other versions, and WAV, which is the one we're going to select today. And so we're just going to, place that on the desktop. Will work just fine. And we're going to name this. Okay, and if you wanted to change this into mono, or any of these other things, if this isn't at 4824, which is a preferred version, so that we can have easy mastering and mixing if we wanted to do any other editing of things. Okay, and we can change that right here. You can select mono or stereo. We're going to have stereo for this one. And then we'll go ahead and click the save button. And as you see down here in the below the transport, it'll tell us our status of how much longer it'll take. And if we double check our desktop, yep, there it is.
I see you changing.
So if you wanted to send that to somebody else to have them master it, you could also do another step, which is mix down to stems. And so I like to do a trick with that where then this flag I made earlier for the end that I was talking about, if we highlight everything here all the way back to the beginning of the playhead, and we come up here to mix down to stems, and we click it, this other menu will pop up, and you'll see all the different tracks that we can actually include in this. Now, if we look at here, it's going to want to include our submixes and other things like the submix track. And so if we only want the actual audio tracks that we have here after we've put those effects and other things on them, we would uncheck the first one, the actual submix track itself. All right. And then as you see, we have some other options for muting the track effects or putting everything back to 0 and then setting everything back to center. Sometimes I'll do that because I want to go have just a complete fresh mix with everything like that. And again, here's some more settings. We can select the different versions and the bitrate and the hertz. And we've got stereo or mono. If you have some stereo tracks, a lot of times I will solo only the stereo tracks and do one pass through with stereo stems. And then I'll go through and do my mono stems afterwards as a second run through. And this highlighted section that I did, if you actually check this box, use timeline selection, it will make all of your stems the same length most of the time. Sometimes if you've only got little parts that have like maybe just this, it would do a shorter stem and then end it at the end of that. But for the most part, what it'll do is it will at least all your playhead points of the beginning of your stems are going to line up. So if you send those stems to somebody that uses a different DAW, something like Ableton or Pro Tools or another thing, they'll be able to take those raw stems and import them into their project and go about mixing it on their own. So we would go ahead and select where we wanted to put this to. I am actually going to make a folder on the desktop for my stems because it's going to bounce all of them. Okay, and that's the folder selected. We're going to press select folder and then click mix. And as you see, it's going to go through mixing all of the stems. All right, you would go ahead and click OK, and as you see, it put them all in the folder that we just made. And so then you could zip that folder and send it up with a project, or send it just these stems to somebody to do further mixing or mastering. It gives you a lot of options that way with Mixcraft. I highly encourage you to jump in there and mix and give it a go and see if there's any other tools and tricks that you could apply to this. I had a lot of time putting this together for you guys, and Sam coming up with a riff to do over it, and it was just kind of fun. And I really like that I've gotten to learn a lot of the Pro Tools tips and tricks that Warren has on his Produce Like a Pro channel, and he is a wonderful dear friend of us here at CommonTime Productions, and I'm honored that I'm able to translate some of those steps into Mixcraft for you guys, and I will have more tutorials coming, more tips and tricks, and all these really fun professional ways that you can mix like a pro in Mixcraft 10.